Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about We Live, a 5-issue series done by the Miranda Brothers and published by Aftershock. I have a lot to say about this series, and just looking at the screen I'm sure you're wondering what's up with everything here. We'll get to that. But first I want to show off each issue and let you see every cover. I do enjoy comic book covers because they the good ones anyway, let you see and get a feel for the story and the whole sense of the series. And these covers definitely do that. Again, this was a 5-issue series published in late 2019. And it also got a free comic book day one shot, I think in 2021. The series continued and the new issue actually got released, I think, last month, but for now we'll only talk about the first 5 issues here. Starting off with issue number 1, and first I wanna show this amazing cover, this double spread here. Just look at this. I mean, talk about setting the mood for your story. This is amazing. Reading the title of this video, I think you kind of get my opinion on issue number 1, and just looking at this, I think you know why. This is absolutely superb. How they managed to do this really good stuff. The very first issue of We Live is the best that comic books have to offer as an artistic medium. It's not original by any means, and it doesn't bother itself with that. We Live issue number 1 has its clear objectives. In its 20 pages, it's going to show us its world, its characters, and its main plot point through colors and sincere beauty. And if this might seem cheap or superficial, it holds a final emotional punch so strong that I still feel it even after reading these issues so many times. I read my first ever comic book when I was 4 years old, and because I was too young and didn't know how, I'd always ask my parents to read it for me, and they did so many times that I'd actually managed to know by heart the whole story. I knew the words of every panel, every speech bubble, even if I couldn't read them. Just as I know all the words of the last pages of this issue. I know what's going to happen. I know everything that's set up, where everything is, each panel, each speech bubble. And still, knowing all that, there's that emotional punch that gets me every time. And I just can't escape it, and it just breaks me every time. The first episode of the Pokemon anime ended with Ash seeing this giant golden bird fly up in the sky. And despite the video games and countless merchandise with figures and playing cards, no one knew who that Pokemon actually was, because it didn't exist officially. It would later turn up to be Ho-Oh, one of the legendaries of the second generation. Now, at the end of that episode, we got that feeling, and that's exactly the second issue of We Live. With no emotional punch this time, the issue focuses on the world hit by floods, nuclear wars, mutations, and again other wars. It shows us the fauna and flora, it shows us colors, and it gives us that what could it be feeling where the only limits are set by our own imagination. First half of Red Faction threw us in a mine on Mars, and the game offered an interactive, destructible environment like nothing we'd ever seen before in video games. With enough ammo and imagination, we could completely bypass any set way shown by the game and create our own paths, leading anywhere in that initial area. It was amazing and one of the best player experiences one could have. Then the game sent us to some boring generic labs where everything was grey and we couldn't create any paths of our own, and the sequel, Red Faction 2, continued this joyless approach, much more aggressively even, and with a greater lack of imagination. And that's exactly what happens in the final 3 issues of We Live. I'm going to spoil some things next, but it doesn't matter anyway since the whole story turns into a complete mess. From the countless creatures and plants, all colorful, or all shown to us directly or as mere ideas, we get to what are basically this world's equivalent of zombies. But not just any zombies, oh no. These ones can think. Eh? Did you get your minds blown yet? Well, if you didn't, get ready for the next group of enemies, some basic guys. That's right, a group of religious zealots, all whites of course, shoot a group of children with bullets in the back of their heads. And We Live shows us their bodies without any reason or goal or repercussions, only for the story to try and recapture, cynically, the emotional punch of the first issue. It doesn't work, because the moment had been ruined by the immense stupidity of what happened prior to that. In the end, after another pathetic enemy, this time in the form of, get ready for this, evil rich people's corruption, We Live decides to take the most responsible course available for an indie comic. In the end, We Live becomes, get ready, a superhero story. Watch out, Marvel and DC, there's a new swimmer in your filthy pond, drowned out of all its creativity. Of course, there's the Free Comic Book Day one-shot that continues the story, but honestly, I'm not gonna bother with it. I'm not gonna bother with the new issue that got out last month. This series just turned into a huge disappointment, and it's a real shame because the first 2 issues, and especially the first issue, those were so great, and we could have had something so much better than generic superheroes fighting generic stuff in a generic world. Maybe in outer space, I don't care. Again, the first issue, I stand by what the title says, is the single best issue of 2019. It's one of the greatest single issues ever released. Issue number 2 follows up with a very solid story and a very solid sense of the world the story is set in. But everything after that, it's just a huge miss. I do not recommend this. I do recommend you get the first 2 issues, but nothing more. Don't waste your time getting invested in this, because there's nothing to get invested in. Again, this was one of the biggest disappointments of my comic book reading. I'm not gonna say career, but time, because I did enjoy the first 2 issues so much, and everything after that, a huge letdown. That was my review of We Live by the Miranda Brothers. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it more than I enjoyed the final 3 issues of this series, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.